Hi there, I'm Kelly. Welcome to my channel. I recently cruised for the first time Royal Caribbean's Enchantment of the Seas. Today I want to share with you what my cruise was like and what I thought of Enchantment of the Seas. Royal Caribbean's Enchantment of the Seas was built in 1997. It was lengthened in 2005 and refurbished in 2017. It holds 2,500 passengers and 850 crew. I chose Enchantment of the Seas for different reasons. For one thing, I love to cruise in January. I feel like it's a great way to start off the year and to just kind of leave the craziness of the holidays behind. Also, I had never tried this size of a ship with Royal Caribbean, and I wanted to see if I liked it. This cruise went in and out of Baltimore, and I'd never tried that before, and I was kind of looking forward to seeing what that was like. My cruise was 8 nights long, and it was called a Southeast Coast and Bahamas cruise. We sailed in and out of Baltimore. We only had 3 port stops on that 8-night cruise, and they were Nassau, Orlando, Florida, and Perfect Day at Coco Cay. The heart of the Enchantment of the Seas is the atrium, and it is gorgeous. Very small and compact, but it goes up story after story after story. It is elegant, it's classical, it is a beautiful place surrounded by sitting areas to just gather. There were shows there, lots of performances, live music. One day we had a family festival there. And it's just a popular area all day long for people to gather and sit. And if there's not a show or live music going on, people just enjoy the lounges and the windows and the view and reading, knitting, talking to each other, having snacks. It was just a really, really beautiful part of the ship. As far as dining venues, Enchantment of the Seas has one dining room called My Fair Lady, but it is 2 levels high and it is beautiful. They also have one specialty restaurant, and that's Chop's Grill. Aside from that, they have Park Cafe in the solarium, and they serve up sandwiches, pizza, fruit, things like that during the day. They have lots of breakfast items. For lunch, they would have a salad bar where someone would make your salad for you. They had some good variety there, and of course a drink station, and it was a very popular place as it was inside the solarium. They also had the Windjammer Buffet, which had everything you could possibly want and was open for 3 meals a day. One thing you'll find on Enchantment of the Seas near the atrium is Cafe Latitudes. It's a little coffee area where you can buy Starbucks coffee, specialty lattes and frappuccinos and things like that. You can get hot tea, iced tea. They also had Ben & Jerry's. Now, of course, that's an extra cost, but they did have some Ben & Jerry's, and I made use of that every day. They also have a small selection of complimentary snacks like little sandwiches, pastries, cookies, fruit cups, things like that. The staff that ran Cafe Latitudes was professional and fun and friendly, and that place stayed busy all day long. Now, as far as swimming pools, Enchantment of the Seas has 2 main outdoor swimming pools, and then they have 1 indoor swimming pool in the solarium. The indoor pool is supposed to be adults only, but on my cruise, we had 2 or 3 days where it was so cold and so windy outside, the pools were closed. And they made the solarium pool open to families so that everybody could have a chance to swim. Of course, they have a lot of hot tubs as well, and they also had an outdoor splash area for little children. When we got into warm weather, that opened up, and it was heavily used. When I'm on a cruise ship, I like to go to the gym, and I did visit the gym in Enchantment and didn't love it. It was quite small and pretty warm. So I didn't spend very much time there. Now, one thing I discovered about this cruise is that a lot of people on the ship were there because they earned free cruises through the casino. And I don't normally visit the casino or use the casino in any way, but on this cruise, I joined a Facebook group ahead of time, and one of the things we did was an organized slot pull. So we each contributed some money and went down to the casino, and we all had a slot pull for about an hour and a half, and it was a lot of fun and a great way to spend time with people. I took advantage of some of the free gaming lessons offered on the first day and learned how to play blackjack and roulette and those kind of things. I did end up going to the casino quite often, mostly to people watch. I played some slot machines. I played a little bit of blackjack. Not my thing, but I kind of enjoyed it as a change of pace.
Enchantment of the Seas has a theater called the Orpheum Theater. It's really lovely and very comfortable and seats 870 people.
The ship had the usual lounge spots. It had a boleros, which was just lovely and had amazing music. They had Latin music, they had piano music, singers, all kinds of things going on throughout the cruise. And then, of course, there was a schooner bar. Now, this was the smallest schooner bar I've ever seen, but it was very lovely. And it was a great place to gather and look out the window at the ocean. And at night, there was piano music, singing. Beautiful. It was also a popular place for trivia.
The Spotlight Lounge was beautiful. It was large, comfortable, modern, very well cared for. It had lovely views of the ocean. It was just great. We had a lot of activities here. Name that tune, trivia, karaoke, a jewelry guessing game, craft time, all kinds of things like that.
Now, of course, the ship had the usual things. They had guest services, next cruise. They had an art department with art auctions. And they had a little promenade with shops. As far as my cabin, I had a plain old interior cabin, which is usually what I get, and I am completely fine with an interior cabin. My cabin was smaller than I expected, a little bit dated. It was very clean, very comfortable. The bed was terrific. The bed was surprisingly low to the ground, though, and I couldn't fit my suitcase underneath like I usually do, so I had to store it in the closet. Not a big deal, just something to be aware of. Now, normally I have zero complaints about my cabin, wherever it is, whatever it is. But on this particular cruise, I had an issue with my bathroom. The first issue was the smell. There was an overpowering smell of sewage in the bathroom from the moment I arrived till the moment I left 8 days later. It never went away, and I had to keep the bathroom door shut all the time. It was disturbing, it was overwhelming, and I've never had that experience on a cruise ship before. My other complaint for the first time ever was the shower. Now, I don't care what my shower is like. I don't need anything fancy, but this shower was tiny. I am a short person. I'm a small person. I can handle a small shower, but even this was ridiculous.
So even though my cabin was clean and ultimately comfortable, I do have to say this gets a thumbs down for me because of the heavy sewage smell and the tiny shower. As far as things to do day to day for our 8-day cruise, we had plenty to choose from. They were all traditional cruise activities such as trivia and name that tune, things like that. But we had several dance parties. We had a great disco party one evening, and the whole ship turned out for that. There was dancing, and they were throwing sparkly rings into the audience. It was really a fun family affair. We had stretch classes in the morning. One day there was an honoring of veterans. They gathered everybody and took a picture and had a cake. And then we had live music throughout the day and the evenings. And on our last day, we had an international flag ceremony where the crew each carried out flags representing the countries they're from. It was a lot of fun, and if you get a chance to go to one of those, I highly recommend it. It was very cold and windy when we left Baltimore and the day afterwards, but by the time we reached our ports, we had lovely weather. We had a picture-perfect day in Nassau, very sunny, very warm. I did not get off the ship, but I enjoyed using the pool and lying in the sun and watching all of the other cruise ships come in and dock. In Orlando, I did my only port excursion, and I did it through the ship. I paid for a shuttle to go over to Universal Studios. The ride took just over an hour. It was on a Sunday, so there was no traffic. We were dropped off at Universal and given 6 hours to explore the park on our own. Universal was a lot of fun. It's what you would expect. It's a very crowded and expensive theme park, but I had a terrific time exploring. We had another picture-perfect day for Coco Cay. Something to be aware of, we arrived after Oasis of the Seas, which meant that about 5,000 people poured out of the ship and had access to the beach before we did. That doesn't bother me at all. This kind of thing is to be expected, and it is what it is. But if you're planning a beach day and you want specific chairs or whatever, you might want to keep in mind that there could be quite a few people on the beach ahead of you.
On our last full day of the cruise, there was a hard push to go shopping and use the casino during the day, because once we entered the waters of the Chesapeake Bay, they had to close those things down.
Would I sail Enchantment of the Seas again? Some final thoughts on the food, the ship, and the cruise experience overall.
So, a word about the food. I found the food in the dining room to be excellent, and the service was excellent. I like to eat at the Windjammer Buffet a lot when I sail on Royal Caribbean. I prefer to eat there over the dining room, and I did that on this cruise too. I found the food in the Windjammer Buffet to not be very good, and I'm not a foodie, let me just say that. I don't have super high standards for food. Having said that, this food was a little bit bland, a little bit lacking. Now, there was a huge selection of it. They had everything you could possibly want for every meal. And one of my complaints, though, was that the food was often not hot. It would come off a hot serving plate kind of cool. It was fresh, but I found overall the food lacked flavor. Even the desserts were just kind of bland. I don't know how to describe it, but it was kind of a disappointment.
Because Enchantment of the Seas is a smaller ship with a smaller crowd, we didn't necessarily have nonstop multiple choices of activities every minute. We did have plenty of activities, though. The activities staff and the cruise director were terrific. There was enough variety and enough offerings to where I felt you didn't have to be bored on this cruise. As for my review of the ship overall,
I liked a lot about Enchantment, but it is an older ship. There are pockets that are just beautiful. There are pockets that are just a little worn and dated. And I'll be honest, getting past that sewage smell off and on throughout the ship and constantly in my cabin bathroom, that was a problem. I was also put off by the taste of the food in Windjammer. It just wasn't very good, and everything had a sort of bland feel about it. And that was a disappointment, and that's not normal, in my opinion, for most cruise ships. So I had a nice cruise. Would I sail Enchantment of the Seas again? No, I wouldn't. Enchantment is a one and done for me.
My cruise served the purpose of having a nice getaway in the middle of January, trying out a new ship, and doing some traditional cruise activities and enjoying a little sun in the Bahamas. The more I cruise solo, the more I figure out what I like, what I prefer, what I don't like. Because of the sewage smell and the other things mentioned, I won't be spending my cruising dollars on Enchantment, but I will certainly be sailing with Royal Caribbean some more. In general, I have figured out that I prefer a newer ship, a larger ship, with quite a bit more hustle and bustle. Have you cruised Enchantment of the Seas? What did you like about it or not like about it? Please leave a comment below. I hope this video was helpful to you in planning your next cruise. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy sailing and enjoy your next cruise.